Oh, shit. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Eye Opener Society. You have me, Hannah.
And you got me, Gary. But that doesn't even mean anything because Hannah's back.
Yes, and as you can see, we're not in the studio. We are actually in-house at Mind's Eye Metaphysical with Jen, which is located at 3 Railroad Avenue in Marietta, Pennsylvania. And we are so excited. Make sure to check out their website. It is www.mindseyemetaphysical.com for all your metaphysical needs. I only shop here. Oh, thank you so much. I love
Yeah,
that.
and this episode is going to be pretty much one of those very special episodes. Not only that Hannah come back for this one, this episode almost did not happen. We were, and I know if you follow us on Facebook, that this was supposed to be all live within the Eye Opener Society studio. Again, we can't talk about anything. And we're not going to bring in that negative energy, but we are here at Mind's Eye Metaphysical. And the reason we're doing this,
Which is so exciting.
it is, I mean, it's exciting because one, I think, Jen, you were like one of my first guests on my old episode. And so we're kind of coming full circle now for the end of the year. As far as a guest, we got Jen. And it means a lot to me because this entire shop means so much for me. I mean, if you've heard me kiss Jen's ass before in the past, I'm not going to go through it all again. I mean, she means so much.
Jen, bend over.
Give me a second.
So as you can tell, we are just high, happy energy. Whenever we come in here, it changes my entire being when I step in the shop. But there's a special reason why we're here. The last time I was in the shop, Jen mentioned that her shop is going to be carrying Ouija boards or spirit boards. And I like spirit boards because it's easier to spell Ouija, whatever it may be. I always mess it up. But Ouija boards. And Jen got a little bit of, I think, feedback, how could you sell those things? They're evil, they're dangerous, That's what we are going to talk about because Jen and I, we probably should have had the microphones then. We started going down all the rabbit holes and all the topics and everything else. So tell us a little bit first about the spirit boards that you have in the shop.
Yes, the spirit boards are our newest item, one of our newest items here in the shop, and it's just another form of divination to me. I wanted to give a wide variety of ways to connect with yourself, your higher self, your spirit guides, and whatever kind of deity you want to connect with. And right now, all we had was the dowsing rods, the tarot cards, the oracle cards, various crystals, and pendulums. And I was like, well, how's the Ouija board any different? So I started looking into that, kind of doing some research. And what I'm coming to the conclusion of is they're just like any other form of divination. They just have a bad rap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we kind of, it hit me because if you've heard my show, especially with Anne Lund, and Anne Lund, I grew up with back in high school, and she grew up in a legit haunted house. And if you go to Anne Lund's hauntedandwaiting.blog or you hear any of her other podcasts, I've told the story many times that we as kids played with the Ouija board. And I think this is where the problem comes with the Ouija board. I think we all do it when we're young and dumb, and we don't do it correctly.
Yes.
We get angry and we start doing things that we probably should not do, and it aggravates the spirits. And yeah, it becomes something dumb. We released, I think, very negative energy, although it probably wasn't negative. I think just because of the way we handled it, the spirits became angry with us. And my story with that board, same thing. I was the same way most people are. I'm never touching that board again, because it was so frightening. The things that were happening around us and the fact that a pinpoint burn hole went right dead center of that board and it burned the cardboard box that was behind it. And Hannah, you remember, like, when I was telling that story, I was like, this was so long ago. I'm only recalling this from memory. And Anne Lund was like, no, that really happened. So it was, solidified now. And I said, wow, it really did happen. But again, so for years, even myself, and I know a lot of people like, oh, I'm not going near those boards. I'm not playing them. They're evil. just like Jen said, though, anything you take, you could literally take a piece of loose leaf paper,
Yes.
write yes, no, the alphabet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, and just take anything, as a medium device and use that same thing. And
Yes.
then you could take it to, like you said, the deck of tarot cards, oracle cards, dowsing rods. It's just another medium that we're using to communicate.
Yes, absolutely. You're exactly right. You can make your own Ouija board or spirit board out of anything. Cardboard, got a magic marker, you're good to go.
Mhm.
And that's the way that you can communicate, but it's all about the method and how you do that. So, I mean, if you're thinking, oh, okay, let's just mess with some spirits tonight. Let's see who we can piss off. Well, yeah, that's what you're going to attract.
Mhm.
Like attracts like. So if you're going into it and you're like, let's just see what comes through. Yeah, let's get really scared and let's turn all the lights off. Let's get it all spooky and let's have that intention. Then that's what you're going to pick up
Mhm.
because you can use that as a form of communicating with spirits. And by spirits, I mean the dead,
Mhm.
ones that have crossed over and ones that are still here. And they're just kind of in limbo. So, as with anything, I mean, there are negative spirits. There are ones that are just kind of pissed off, just like humans walking around. I mean, you have your good ones, you have your bad
Mhm.
ones. Take your pick. And sometimes you don't get a choice. You're going to run into that person no matter what. So, same thing works with spirit board communication. And you have to be prepared for anything and you have to set your boundaries. And if you don't know how to do that or what you're doing, and you're just opening a door for anybody to come through and you're not setting any attentions and you're not grounding yourself and you're not protecting yourself, then yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And I know there are people, though, that just look at the Ouija board and they're like, you shouldn't even have it in the shop and all. And I think that's just it. I think people get these bad experiences with the board and they blame the board. But I think
Yes.
they could have a negative experience just with lighting a candle or using a pendulum or any other, source or medium to communicate. I think in the field that we're all in, this entire metaphysical field, there's so many different ways that we can communicate, different tools that we can use. And it boils down though to the user,
Yes.
the state of mind that we're in and how we're going to use it. We could take a Ouija board and literally use it for black magic.
Yeah, you could.
And you could, and it will bring you the negative, the black magic, the black with a darker energy, or you could use it for, the good, the positive,
Yes.
the love and light, and just looking for, the peace. Um, and Hannah, I can't remember. Did you ever have an experience with the
I
Ouija?
did use a Ouija board once, but I don't think it was like a true experience. I just think I did it with like immature people who, wanted to piss people off. And it was like one of those things where it's like it wasn't that I was closed-minded, but it was just like clear as day that they weren't true to the metaphysical side there. So they were just literally moving it themselves. So, but that's as far as it goes. It's like Ouija board for me. I've never really done anything as far as like a Ouija board or a spirit board outside of that.
Mhm.
But I do agree as far as when it comes to spirit boards, I think that they do get a bad rep. I think that they can be used for, you know, reaching your higher self or, communicating outside of using a tarot or anything like that. So I've never really given a Ouija board a bad rep.
Mhm.
Now, I mean, after you use it for something evil intended, then I mean that board alone, I feel like is evil. I feel like after it's used
Mhm.
for something like that, I don't know if there's anywhere going back. I guess I would consider it like a tainted board.
Yeah, and it
Mhm.
actually it can be because it can hold that energy unless
Yeah.
you know really how to cleanse it, and most people wouldn't even know. So
Hmm.
you are right. That
Yeah.
item can hold that energy,
Yeah. It's
and it
like,
can be like a doorway or a portal
hmm
for that to happen again. So yeah, you're right. If you
yes.
don't know what you're doing.
So so have you done any with your spirit boards
I
yet or?
have I have messed with a whole bunch of different kinds of divination in my time.
Okay.
My first experience with a Ouija board was dating back to when I was like 14.
Okay.
And I'm 41 now. So that's a long time ago.
She's lying.
She is. I thought she was still 14.
I'm actually older than her.
But yeah, it was a great experience though. I mean, who knows the validity of who we were talking to at that point, but it wasn't a bad experience. Nothing scary happened. Um, it was me and two other friends, and we were just, I mean, the one friend was kind of leading us along because she was more metaphysical than me and my best friend. And she even got up one time and walked away because we were always told, oh, you don't move your fingers from the planchette. Don't take your fingers off of it. And I was like, well, what if I gotta scratch my nose? Like, what happens then? And she's like, well, yeah, something like that. It's fine. So the ringleader, as I call her, she got up from the board to get a tissue, and it was just me and my best friend. And this thing is just moving all over the place. The planchette is spelling out everything, full blown conversations. And me and her just looking at each other like, what the is going on? Like, we were just, it was our first time. So we were besides ourselves. But whatever spirit we were communicating with was very nice. It was a friend of the ringleader. So, you know, we just kind of went with it. We were there for the ride, but nothing bad happened. Now, she knew how to do it correctly. She knew how to protect us, and she knew how to set her boundaries. And when we were done, she knew how to close the door. So nothing bad came of it. And I feel like, you know, if you do it right, there's no way that anything bad can happen to you. If you believe wholeheartedly that you are love and light, if you have the intention to just communicate with, you know, even if it is a spirit, one that's not an asshole, or one that is just there for your highest and greatest good, then that's fine. But you also want to be careful with what kind of questions that you ask too, because, you know, if you're going on there and you're saying, well, when am I going to die? Or when am I going to have this happen or this happen? Here's the thing with that. And I'm not saying that psychic mediums are wrong by any stretch of the imagination. We have an amazing one here, Angelo. He is spot on with everything that he's ever said to me. But the way that spirit communication and mediums work is they read your energy and they tell you the answers based on your energy right now, the path right now that you're on. So you have free will. He can tell me, like my medium can tell me, oh, you're going to go out and buy another location in the next year. And that may come true. But also in that next month, I have the free will to move to Paris if I want to and go a completely different direction. And there's nothing that anybody can do to stop me, even though he said, oh, spirit says you're going to do this, you know, if that would happen. So if you're asking spirit a question on the Ouija board or the spirit board and they give you an answer, you know, it could come true. And then you can also jump your timeline and go in a completely different direction because you have free will. So nothing is set in stone. Now, oftentimes, if the answers come through and they're very strong, that's probably what's going to happen. Let's be real. Because if there is a shift coming, sometimes a medium can even pick up on that. And sometimes your guides can even tell you that. And they can tell you something's going to happen that you didn't even expect to come up. But we also have to just kind of take it with an open mind and sometimes a grain of salt, you know, and be careful with the questions that we're asking. You know, we don't really want to ask questions that we don't want to know the answers to.
Absolutely. I'll take this here road now because I know we discussed this too. Even without a Ouija board, like my friend Ann Lund in her home, it was a haunted home. The spirits are going to communicate regardless if they want to, you know, and if their energy is that strong, they are not going to need that board to communicate. And I don't recall all of the events, but Ann did say that there were certain signs that were given to her that were like kind of leading her towards questions and answers. So they can do that. They don't need the spirit board for that.
I think the board is more of like a security. Like, honestly, I feel like a board, when it comes to situations like that, a board puts you in control.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good way to look at it. I haven't even, thought of it that way. Yeah. You're in control if you know what you're doing and you're isolating the energy to that board and that board only. It's not going to carry over into your space. That's good. I never even thought about that. But we also spoke about too, like when it comes to spirits and their energy, like I had a very negative experience with it, very, very negative. However, I never got harmed. And I think people feel that they're going to get harmed. And not to say people haven't, but I don't think the statistics are pretty much that high, because we mentioned that takes an awful lot of energy.
It does. It
And,
really does.
and for a spirit to latch on to somebody like that through that Ouija board takes way too much energy.
Yes.
And at that point, if you have a spirit that is that strong, I don't think you needed the Ouija board in the first place.
Right. They're going to do what they're going to do, whether you have that board or not.
Mhm.
And the one thing, though, that you were saying that it will drive them is you being fearful.
Mhm.
So if you have like a bad spirit that you're communicating with, they're obviously vibrating at a lower frequency. So if you feed it that energy of fear
Mhm.
and worry and doubt and whatever else is lower than love and light,
Right.
you're just going to feed it and you're going to make it more powerful and it's going to grow. And you have the most powerful thing inside of you, which is your brain and your intention. So, if you have that fear around it and you're feeding this entity or whatever kind of bad malevolent spirit that you're talking to, it's just going to get more powerful. And then I feel like you, as the power holder or giver, you can make things happen.
Mhm.
By feeding that spirit, you can fuel it to, pick up and throw objects. I mean, like I said, that takes a ton of energy, but it's been known to happen. And it can happen, especially if you are not watching what you're doing and if you're giving it that power.
Yeah, there's a lot of trust I think you would have to have in yourself. I think they're a good starter. Like, I don't think having one and not having any experience is a bad thing. Again, it's going to boil down to how you use it. Definitely take the precautions. Remember, you're in charge too. I think too, telling them, because listen, if they're communicating with you, they're listening to you. So if you let them know, listen, you're not allowed to say this, do this. You're only going to stay here when the session is done. It is done. You're going to go back to where you are. You are not allowed to occupy the space. You're not allowed to stay. There's a lot of ways to handle that. And if you don't, and you may have a little bit of problem. You're going to get that residual energy that's going to come through. And my thought, I don't really blame them. A lot of these spirits want to communicate. They will target those that can hear them. They will jump and, use you and bother you for that. But it's only because they don't have that voice. You're giving them that voice through that spirit board or whatever medium device that you're using.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the rules too about spirit board communication is keep your sessions short. Keep your questions planned. Stick to those questions, and when you've gotten your answers, end the communication. And if you're not getting the answers that you want or expect, or it seems like maybe they're messing with you, because be a good judge of character, because you never really know who you're talking to, and it is possible for a spirit to lie. Keep your communication set and you are in control, like you were saying. And as long as you use that protection, I mean, there's a couple of rules that I like to follow if I'm going to do a spirit board, especially if you're new. Rule number one, maybe not do it the first time by yourself. Because I feel like when you're doing something like that, even if you're like, oh, okay, I'm good, I'm confident, I'm ready to go, I know how to stay in control, I know how to do the protection, I can line the board with salt, I can light my candles, whatever, have your crystals. Yeah, okay. But if something starts messing with you because you still have that underlying fear and they find that, they can sniff it out, they might take hold of that and be like, okay, now we're going to mess with this. Let's have some fun.
Right.
Because they're bored. So I would just recommend to start with somebody that you're comfortable with, that you can trust, to not try to play a stupid prank.
Yeah.
Because that would not be cool. But if it was our first time doing a reading with spirits on the spirit board, I would make sure that I was in the shop, because there's so many crystals around here that nothing negative can ever come into the shop.
Yeah.
funny story about that. Angelo, my medium, was reading for somebody who, has a couple of attachments, and, he's telling him all about his attachments. And the next morning, my husband comes out into the garage and was like, there is something out there and it is pissed. And I'm like, all right, great. So then my mom comes out, takes a look. She's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I came out here. I grabbed one of my portal packs, which is basically a portal that will open up the door, allow them to go through, and it will shut. It's made by a kitchen witch. She's great. And I trust her work and her spell work. So lit that, did some Reiki, sent it on its way, and it's gone. But that tells me that the shop is a safe space. It can't get stuck in here. Because of the high vibrational energy of the crystals and everything that's in here. So, if it was my first time, or if somebody wanted to do it for the first time, I would say, come on over. Let's go to the shop. Let's break out the board. We would light some sage. Sage is going to clean the area of any kind of negative energy or residual energy that maybe isn't for your greatest good out. So that way you have a clean slate. Or any kind of incense will work. Palo Santo, fine. Whatever you have on hand is fine. And I would run the session for the first time, make it very short, make it, kind of directly to the point, saying, this is who I want to communicate with. I want to communicate with any kind of spirits who have my best and highest good in mind. And no other spirits or entities can communicate with us. And as long as you set that intention, nothing else can happen to you. But that intention has to be the most strongest thing you've ever felt in your life.
Yeah.
You can't have any doubt or any fear.
Right. Right. And we also had that conversation too, where we said we are just in different dimensions. We don't need, any of these spirit boards. We don't even need to want to communicate, but just walking around in everyday life, there's good and bad people. You could walk outside and get mugged, because it was a bad person. It's the same when it comes to these medium devices like the spirit boards. You're going to get sometimes that negative energy come through. It's just going to happen. But I say don't fear it. We all have the ability to communicate beyond this dimension. We forget how to do it. Most of us need to relearn it. Like I said, I think we've been deprogrammed. That's always been my thing. But we dream. Sometimes, spirit comes to us through dreams, and signs and symbols. Sometimes just walking around wide awake, people have the ability. Angelo can pull from spirit. They're just talking to him. We don't need a spirit board. Everybody's going to have their own tools, their own devices on how to communicate with their own divination. We all are different, and we all going to have it in different ways. I mean, spirit board's just one. I mean, there's scrying, there's water bowls, there's again even the pendulums. Simple yes, no. Which way is it going to swing? It's all the same thing. I would love to have a session right now that would talk about the whole spirit board,
I'm ready.
Yeah, I think it would be a fantastic thing. But again, I think too, an impromptu thing like that, I don't think would be good, because again, I mean, we're just looking to do it just to do it. It should be much more focused. This is what's going to, happen. If this happens, you take over this, I just feel that's the way it is, because I just think that the Ouija board, and the reason why so many people are, so worried about them, is because they do attract the most energy for whatever the reason. I just see it because it's literally working through you. The planchette, is that how we pronounce it? Planchette. Yeah. That's going to move, and that's using you. It's using your vibrations, your energies to do it. So people then get worried because that is coming through them. But all of that, everything that we do, everything that comes from another dimension is coming through us anyway. It's just how sensitive we are to it, and also how sensitive spirit is to those vibrational energies. So bottom line, don't do it drunk, don't do it high. Don't, honestly, if people do that, and right away it's going to send those negative energies.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do, Hannah, if you want to model the boards, because
do you have the board?
I know we are on audio only, but I'm releasing the video as soon as I can, because we do have the boards here from
I'll hold that for you, and then you can model.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we have 4 in stock right now. All different styles, all different shapes. This one is just kind of like a smaller board. It's black and it has some white painting on it, black matching planchette with it. And then we have one that is a beautiful, it's called Moonlit Wings, and it's like a really pretty butterfly. And this one has like a sparkly coating on it. It's pink. And I got these boards in because I wanted to end the stigma over it being something scary. I mean, this one has mushrooms carved into it. They're all made out of wood. They have a felt backing, and they're just beautiful, beautiful boards.
This
They're
one's
done
my
by
favorite.
hand. The butterfly. This is another butterfly. It's
Yeah.
a purple one, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, there's better pictures on our website, but you can kind of see like they're all handmade, and they have this beautiful energy about them. They're not scary. And I feel like if you're using a board that is not scary, you're not going to be scared. And this one is a floral skull board. It's kind of like a natural wood color, and it's just absolutely stunning. The edges are kind of like a live cut edge. But they're just good boards to get started with. They're not something that's going to have, like skulls and knives and
or even a classic like one that has the bad rep, the one that the movie and everything's all based around.
Yeah, they're not scary at all. I mean, and I feel like you don't have to do it in a scary way. You don't have to turn the lights off. You don't have to. I mean, I do like lighting a bunch of candles because it does add some protection, especially white and black candles are really good for that, but you don't have to. It doesn't have to be at night. It can be during the day. Because again, there is this stigma around it that something bad is going to happen, or you're going to let in a negative entity or energy. And I'm not denying that that's possible. That is possible, but it's not possible if you do it correctly. It doesn't make sense for it to be able to happen, and for you to have a bad experience if you're doing it correctly. And if you know that you're in control and you are vibrating at the highest frequency that you can. And like you said, don't do it high, don't do it drunk. Don't do it sick, don't do it depressed, don't do it sad, don't do it angry, don't do it if you haven't had enough sleep, because all of those things are going to have an effect on your vibrational frequency, and they're going to take you down a notch. And what we want in order to communicate with our highest frequency friends on the other side is to have a high vibrational frequency as well. So when we're communicating with our higher self, our spirit guides, our angels, they vibrate so much higher than just a spirit that has passed but not crossed fully over. It's just kind of in limbo, and especially if they're not a very nice spirit. Okay, so we want to stay off of that radio station and up here. And I always tell my clients whenever we're talking about Reiki or energy healing or anything like that, is that you can't listen to 2 radio stations at the same time. It's not possible. So if you want to listen to one up here, high vibrational, you have to tune into that radio station. And there's no way that you can listen to the lower vibration radio station at the same time. So you have to make sure that you're up as far as you can be.
I was going to bring that point up too when you were talking about, how to run the Ouija board, and your state of mind. It was funny. You must have been picking up on me because I was going to mention you're a Reiki master.
Yes.
And you tell your clients, listen, here's a date, we're going to do it. But if I call you and say I can't do it, it's because you're not in the place to do it.
Absolutely. If I am not feeling my best, if I am not feeling like I am a high enough channel to let that energy through, because it is like tuning into a radio station. Now, Reiki practitioners are attuned. They've had their attunement to vibrate higher naturally so that they can channel that energy. But I still, even having that attunement, if I wasn't feeling my best, or if I was feeling a little lower, if I was just having like a bad day and I was in a bad mood, I wouldn't sit down with the spirit board. Because I'm asking for it. Now, even then, could I protect myself? Could I set some intentions very strongly? Yeah, I could. But it's not to say that I couldn't attract something or, communicate with something that wasn't good. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the dowsing rod girl.
Yes.
That does the dowsing rods. I mean, she was doing a Q&A one time, and I love her. I like to watch her shows and her videos, but she was even doing a Q&A one time, and she said, have I ever communicated with a malevolent spirit or entity, or I don't know what she called it, but anything bad? And the rod said yes. And she said, oh, interesting. She said, did it lead me astray? And it said no. So it's just like you can have a conversation with somebody who is not a nice person.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a conversation with, somebody who's mean or just not on the same spiritual level as you, or just kind of like a dick, for lack of the better
Right.
word.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to come of that. I mean, I talk to people who are mean 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's happening to me
Yeah.
because of that,
Mm-hmm.
So same way works with the spirit board. If you open up your channel and you're talking to somebody and the questions seem to be not going the way that you planned, or you're starting to get some information that's making you uncomfortable, or, they start messing with you a little bit, you say, okay, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Goodbye. You go
Mm-hmm.
straight down to the goodbye. You move the planchette by yourself, and that's it. And then maybe end the session, wipe off the board, clear it. Cause like I said, well, Hannah said in the beginning, that is a possibility for them to kind of that board to hold that energy, and you don't
Yeah.
want that. So cleansing that board, physically wiping it off, even like the motion of your hand, setting your intention, getting out that sage, cleansing the board, and then it's good to go for the next time. That cleansing, if you believe that it is going to cleanse the way that you want it to, and that's your intention, nothing else will happen other than that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to cleanse it. It's going to be good to go. You don't have to burn your board.
Yeah.
Well, don't burn them.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, so curveball at you. The board that Gary and Anne used that had the hole burned in it, what would you
Yes.
recommend?
So with that,
you got to burn that shit.
So with that, I mean, same thing. I mean, yeah, there was a negative experience on that. And, yeah, something happened to that board directly because of some kind of dickhead spirit that came through and was messing, probably because it, maybe wasn't done all the steps that were,
It was just kids.
it's just kids messing around.
What it really was the anger that we had, because it wasn't giving us any, what we thought it should do, and we got angry with it. Our anger emotions got tied up into that board, which then got tied up into that spirit, which in turn played off of our energy.
Absolutely.
That's what I believe. As angry as we were, that spirit became angrier.
For sure. And then, it just kind of fed off of that and manifested something, and it can do that. But I wouldn't be scared of the board. I would just make sure it's thoroughly cleansed. I mean, maybe I would stick it in a bucket of salt. Like actually stick it in a bucket of dry salt, let it sit there for a little bit to cleanse, and then
5 to 7 business days.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, good to go. But I did also have, I even forgot about this experience. It was probably about 16. Went over to one of my friend's houses, and his mom was a practicing witch, and she had a 4 corners board. And it was such a cool experience. But she, she kind of ran the show. We were just kind of there watching. And she knew we weren't talking to somebody who was telling the truth. We were trying to connect with some spirits in the house. It was an older building that we were in at the time. And she could tell, and I can't remember the questions that she was asking, but she knew we weren't communicating with something good. And so, and she ended it. She's like, nope, that's it. We're done. She went, goodbye. That's it. And she cleansed that board with sage, and we were done. And that was it. I mean, nothing ever came from it. And you could tell that she had done that before, and she knew what to do.
She's like, nah.
She's like, no, we're good here.
I'm out.
Yep. And the spirit board is just, I mean, yes, it's probably the most powerful form of divination that you could use or get into, because of the way that it can allow you to communicate with that entity or energy or spirit guide. Hopefully you're only ever talking to spirit guides. And if you are talking to a spirit that's crossed, hopefully it's a nice one. But it allows you to actually get a lot more information. Whereas when you're using the tarot, yes, you're calling on your guides to guide your hand, guide your energy to pick that right card that you need to see in that specific moment. And it will work if you believe it. But the spirit board obviously can give you some more information, allow them to communicate directly with you instead of, I mean, you can ask a spirit to come in while you're doing your cards, but it's going to give you the cards, and you interpret those cards however you want. So you could pull the death card and you could be like, yay, new beginning. I'm so excited. What's going to happen? So,
Exactly.
or you could be like, oh shit, something bad's going to happen. But it's all on how you interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, spirit boards are different because they will spell it out for you.
Yeah.
And there's no denying what they're talking about. So that is why it's always, always important to ground your energy, open your soul star chakra, your crown chakra up to the higher self, your higher power. Surround yourself with the white light of the Holy Spirit, if that's what you believe, or just call in Archangel Michael to protect you. Either way, you could do one, both, or you could do none and just use your crystals. You could use some black salt. You could just, sage if that's what you want. But if your intention is there, that's the most important thing. It's the most powerful form of energy that we have. And we are all connected to spirit. It's our given right to be able to communicate with spirit. I think a lot of people turn that off because we all are psychic.
Right.
We all have that ability, whether you feel like you do or you don't. Some it comes a little bit easier for them, and some we have to work for it. We have to work for years on connecting and opening up. But if you're open to it and that's your intention, it will happen. It might not happen in a day, might not happen in a week, might not happen in a month, but it will happen. And the same thing goes for the spirit boards. You can get a new spirit board and you could sit down with it and nothing will happen. And that's okay. But you have to keep trying and you have to keep having that intention that you're going to connect with, your spirit guides, if that's who you want to talk to, your angels. I've spoke to many different spirit guides on the dowsing rods. And dowsing rods are awesome, but they can only give you yes or no answers. But I've actually talked to my spirit guides. I've talked to my husband's spirit guides. And it's just been an amazing experience.
That's
and
awesome.
It's like, well, if I can do this, why can't we go farther? And I'm not fearful of anything, especially not in the shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm fully protected. Now, would I do it inside? Yeah, I would do it inside, but I would just make sure that, I take some added protection. Nothing can come in or through this board. This is my house. You can communicate with me this way and no other way. Like, as long as you're saying that, nothing else can happen. But it's when you go into something and you're like, let's just see what happens, or okay, and then you're not getting any response, so you get angry, and then a spirit's like, well, watch this.
Yeah. And Hannah, the boards are sitting right behind you. You just handle them, and
I feel fine.
It's just
she's good.
She's good. And I think that's the biggest fear. A lot of people just see them and right away jump to, oh, this is all evil.
Yeah.
But they are just another object. That's really all they are. They're sitting there. They're not harming anybody. There's nothing happening with them. We haven't channeled any energy into them. They're just there. And like I said, these are beautiful boards, and man, they get even prettier. And some of them are made of marble, and some of them are like chessboards, and I've seen some real ornate ones, and
like
some of them can be,
the
glass ones, but they, some of them are painted up to look very evil too, and I think that might bring some of the more of the negative energy, but I really feel that they are just that, objects, beautiful objects, but then they can become that tool that will elevate your divination and your psychic abilities. I don't see any reason why somebody should come inside the shop and not buy one. Honestly, it's even if it's just a decorative piece, even if it's something that you think you might want to try at some time, they're here, they're available. Just come in
and on the site too.
And they're on the site. Absolutely. You get much better pictures on the site too, as well. So I want to thank Jen.
Yes.
I want to thank Hannah because this has been an amazing episode. It's to sit here with two of the most important people in my life. And I know with Hannah being, out of the picture for a while, I know everybody's been waiting for her to talk. And when it's her time to talk, she's going to talk. And I know she's got a lot to say, and I know it's going to help a lot of people, but we just can't do it right now. So I don't want to be very cryptic, and it's very tough as a podcaster to keep your mouth
I will
shut.
be back when I am ready to be back. I think, not to get it like emotional or anything. I've done enough crying today and over the past couple months, but I think I'm just mentally not here, and I only ever want to give my best. Definitely being in the shop and with Jen, you radiate so much beautiful energy. I appreciate you more than you will ever know.
Thank you.
Definitely this was like a good like intern me being back episode. You really like just sitting next to you really got me through it. So I appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming and doing this with me. It's
Yes.
awesome. And I always like talking to you guys, and especially when we can educate people on what
Yes.
to
Right.
and what not to be afraid of.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And don't forget Mind's Eye Metaphysical, mindseyemetaphysical.com on the web. And there's also a group page. If you go on Facebook and want to join that group, just, sign up, answer the questions. Jen would definitely let you in. It's a fantastic community.
Maybe. I screen them.
But they really are a fantastic community. And we are recording this with video, and that group is going to see the video as well as, having our audio version that's going to go up first. But the Mind's Eye Metaphysical group is going to actually get to see the whole picture of the, video version of this, because that group really is fantastic. And, this is why we set all this up. And then everybody else that's listening to the podcast that wants to see it, this will also go up probably a month from now, and it'll be up on YouTube for sure, because we've been getting a lot, and I might even place it up on Facebook too as well. Or join Mind's Eye Metaphysical group on Facebook and get to see it sooner. I want to thank everybody again. I want to thank Hannah again. I want to thank Jen again. I want to thank Mind's Eye Metaphysical, everybody that's listening and tuning in. You guys been fantastic. I know everybody's dying to hear Hannah more. I know I'm dying to hear Hannah more. But again, when she is ready, you're going to be blown away. Trust me. I'm just going to turn the mic over to her, and that's it. And with that being said, now you got to see me getting up and reaching over to
and happy holidays, everybody.
I totally forgot. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all of that. On the 30th is the other episode that's going to be with Jennifer Miller, who is filling in for Hannah. We have that show that's been recorded already, and it will be up on the 30th. And then also, don't forget, we're also going to have the Eye Opener Society talk show, which is going to be once a week live right on Podbean. So don't forget, eyeopenersociety.podbean.com. Enjoy the holidays.
Bye-bye.